What did you learn in the last 49 days? What became clear to you? What patterns have you observed? What versions of yourself did you hate the most that you felt like kept popping up over and over and over again? How can we refine? How can we tune in? How can we hone in? How can we become more aware of what is in service to us and what is not? The new year actually begins now. So if you found yourself moving through mud, it's the last cleansing of the previous year. Every single thing, pattern, energy that you've noticed in the last 49 days is meant to be offered up for examination, not dripped in puritanical shame, but to bring an awareness around previous stories, patterns, and feelings that no longer align with that next version of ourselves. We're at the tail end of winter. Winter is this period where stillness, reflection, going slow is needed. It is not something that is a byproduct of laziness or a lack of desire or evidence that we cannot bring forth a vision, but it is actually the most powerful time because even the trees' roots grow deeper in the winter. What versions of yourself did you hate the most? Because it is not in the moments where we are having momentum or motivation. Those are like fleeting tidal waves. The moments where we don't show up and the very real justified why that so many of us are conditioned to be incredibly mean to and about, harsh and controlling, as if all versions of ourselves need to be homogenized or dominated. It is in the softness, the patience, the stillness, and the waiting do we realize, or at least come more closely in relationship with what needs to die, what needs to be let go, so that we can prepare for spring. If you've been caught in surge, all of this energy of all of this chaos surrounding you, I want to tell you that you're not alone. If you feel like a great amount of uncertainty, but also a great rush of energy behind you, it is the time, it is the cycle, it is the season. Something that I have struggled with for a very long time when I was very conscious socially and politically, and feeling like, what do you do when there's all this level of chaos around? Very frustrated and feeling very hopeless and getting very angry about not feeling like you know what to do, what the next step is. Having struggle in relationship because of the lack of understanding, because of the lack of communication. Instead of getting lost in the hopelessness of it all, I've recognized that angst and that anger as like my soul's calling to, oh, what is my response to all of that? My response in this one dance of all of the cosmic whatever. How am I choosing to show up? How do I want to be? And accepting that that won't always come out perfectly. And it's not supposed to. When you are taking action that you feel like shame around, or get angry, upset, or oh my god, I can't believe I did that again, I procrastinated again, I didn't get the thing done again, form of beating yourself down. It's a form of disrespect to yourself. It's a form of being unkind and rude to yourself, and that behavior only reinforces the shame, the emotional response that we are often running away from. So much of our decisions are from an emotionally based standpoint. It's not logical or rational. It's actually very emotional. We just rationalize away the emotions because our society runs on valuing logic, valuing intellect, and all these other things without deep respect for the emotional or sometimes body knowledge that exists when you're making choices. Something that I see with so many creative women that I work with is how much they negate ourselves. Women especially, we're conditioned to swallow our truths, shrink, be agreeable, be accommodating, be whatever version other people think you should be. And then when you don't meet that two ways. It could be met with like understanding, compassion, and an invitation to lean inwards, or it could be met with hostility or othering that is violent, that becomes harmful to others. And I feel like there's so much discourse when we talk about these systems on like a grander scale, and I think those conversations are super important. I've like studied it throughout like college and like my humanities degree, and I really appreciate that section of my life because it really taught me how history unfolds repeatedly, and I'm grateful for that knowledge. I just feel like there's not enough conversation about how those systems actually manifest and operate relationally. It's like the wound kind of takes on itself, and then we kind of dish it out amongst each other. So it's like those oppressive systems exist in our minds and our actions and our thoughts and our feelings before it ever, like, it does it in a way where like the system on its own doesn't even have to do it. It's kind of like we do it on ourselves as well. Work that I am way more interested in uncovering because it's a narrative and a story that also dominates our minds, our feelings, and the way we act. It's relational, it's communal, and excavating that out of ourselves and each other is like the first step in healing anything. The concept sometimes and the sexiness of like rebellion and revolution, but I think nothing truly changes until the internal changes. There's that quote that goes like, if you grew up with an angry man in your house and you leave, there will always be an angry man in the house, not because someone is still yelling and screaming, but you've taken on the yelling and screaming in your brain. You are constantly complaining, constantly worried about what's going wrong, focused on the things that are unpleasant and attaching the meaning, because that's what our brains do. They're meaning making machines, but we attach the meaning of that negative thing and we let that definition make a sentence on our entire lives. Stuff like this in the spiritual community, I feel like gets lost or mistranslated because sometimes people think like, oh, so you're just basically saying that if you just pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you're gonna be fine. And that's like, those responses and arguments frustrate me the most because it's incomplete. It's not even, to me, it's not critical enough or actually answering toward the solution. It's just to like debase it as illogical. But anybody who's like in practice and presence with the work knows that ease isn't the point. Like, progress and ease isn't the point. It never has been. Sooner we let detach from suffering, the quicker that you understand that suffering is always constant, it's always present. It's the relationship, and that's like the hub of everything. It's the relationship that you have with your emotions. It's the relationship you have with your thoughts. It's the relationship that you have with your feelings. Uncovering the personal story behind what happened to you, what lessons it made you internalize about yourself, about what's possible for you, can bring up some really painstaking memories. It did for me. I've spent years and tears in journal entries feeling like so much of life is unfair, and having some deep compassion and validity around that. That's a very real feeling. I think the issue isn't having the feeling or feeling that, and too often I think this is like where like the emotional availability kind of shuts down sometimes in conversation. Is just like people will hear that and think that, oh, don't get lost in the victim energy or consciousness or blah blah blah, and it's like too often, in that response, it's almost an avoidance of the emotion altogether. It's like, I don't want to get sucked into that because and I think there's like a space where boundaries and energy and capacity is always present, but there's something about being present, slowing down, pausing, that is deeply powerful. That is the wisdom and the practice of all ancestors, all of the lineage before us. We were here. They were there in the midst of all of it, and doing and creating and aligning and becoming all of the time. If you are also in a season where you feel like you are emerging into a new timeline, if this time period really deeply resonates with you and you feel like you are someone who studies the stars, reads a lot, and is deeply conscientious of a world building era, comment below. I really want to hear what you feel like you're birthing, what you feel like you're shedding. And I offer this up to you like a cup of hot chocolate, that you are already on your way to entering that timeline. And once you are done watching this video, I hope you do that one thing, the only, like the smallest, tiniest thing that would put you on that timeline. And until next week.